Hello everyone, and welcome to learning how to play the flute. Let's get started. First thing we're going to do is take our flute in its case and set it very gently on the ground with the logo side up. Let's take a look at what we've got. With the flute, we have three main parts. We have the body of the flute, which is the big one on top. We have the foot of the flute, which is the smaller piece on the left. And then we have the head joint, which is the bottom piece on the right. If you'll notice here, we also have a bar in the middle, and that is going to be for cleaning our instrument, which we will talk about later. Now let's take a minute and just admire our flute. Wow, it's so pretty. I love my flute. Not to forget, another thing that we will need for our flute is a cleaning swab. This is the one that I have. It's just a simple cloth. You might have a silk swab, something like this, which is sort of like a cheesecloth. But make sure that you have a swab so that we can take care of our instrument. Let's learn how to assemble our flute. First, take your head joint like I mentioned earlier, as well as the body of the flute. If you'll notice here, we have this bit, which is called the barrel of the flute, and that's where we're going to hold it. We're going to hold it here on the body and the barrel, making sure not to smash any of these keys, and then we will take the head joint of the flute and hold it underneath the lip plate. The lip plate is only soldered on at a couple points, and we want to make sure that we're not holding onto it because it's delicate and it can break. So we're going to hold it underneath the lip plate just like this, and on the barrel, not smashing or touching any keys here. And then whenever we put it in, we just want to do a little wiggle until we've got, you see here, a bit of this section out. Once you get the head joint into the body, we need to make sure that it's aligned. So let's see, on here, mine has a little arrow that lines up with the Yamaha logo here, but if you do not have that, then you can look at the lip plate here and the hole and make sure that it lines up with the keys on the body of the flute. After you have those pieces aligned, then we're going to put the foot on our flute. This is the little piece that was on the left side of the case. So it's going to be very similar in the way that we're going to hold the barrel here, and then with the foot, we'll hold it underneath the keys so that we're not smashing anything. Then, just as the top, put it in, wiggle, until you've got it in, but this goes all the way. If you see here, my Yamaha one has these little arrows and they line up. So once they're aligned, that means that everything is in line. But if you do not have those arrows, then you'll want to set up like this to where this rod is lined up with the middle of these keys right there. Now that we've learned how to assemble our flute, we are going to actually deassemble it just a little bit. We're only going to need the head joint here. So let's take off the head joint in the same way that we put it on by holding the barrel and underneath the lip plate and twist off gently. Let's just set this back on our case on the ground, being very careful. Now that we have the head joint all by itself, let's learn how to make a sound. The first step to learning flute embouchure is going to be pretending that we have watermelon seeds or rice in our mouth and we're trying to spit it out. So, let's say I've got watermelon seeds in my mouth and I'm trying to spit them directly at the ground. But I'm not going to move my head. I'm just going to go. If you have some rice or watermelon seeds, you can actually do this outside, but we're just pretending for now. Now I'm going to do that, but I'm going to make the hole of my mouth, my aperture, very tiny, as small as I can get it. Just like that. And actually, whenever I'm making that hole smaller, I want to think about the lips of my mouth being like a drawstring bag, and I'm pulling it like this. So it's getting smaller, like so. Keeping spitting rice in mind, we're now going to take the head joint of the flute and place it underneath our bottom lip. If you can see here, my bottom lip actually covers up a bit of the hole. It's going to cover up about this much, and you'll actually be able to feel it on your lip. So this is my setup. Now, if I pretend to spit rice with the same idea in mind, with the aperture or the hole of my mouth being very small, pretending that there's like a drawstring bag, pulling my lips closed. That's about the sound that we should be able to get. Now let's learn how to tongue on the flute. So some other instruments, they have reeds, and it's pretty simple because your tongue just hits the reed and then that's tonguing. However, with the flute, there is no reed. So we're going to take our tongue and it's going to hit just on the roof of our mouth right behind our teeth. So, two, 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 two. It's similar to saying two, two, two. And if I'm still thinking about spitting rice and I'm saying two, 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 that's how we tongue. And that's how we tongue. Think of the syllable two. There's actually quite a bit of fun things that we can do just with the head joint. As soon as you get that sound going, sound like this. See, there's just quite a bit of fun things that we can do just with the head joint alone. However, if you are struggling to get a sound on the flute, just remember sometimes we need to keep moving the head joint around like this. Sometimes it might not be high enough, it might not be low enough. We want to make sure that it is going directly into our chin here. It has to actually touch our lips in order to get a sound out. And another thing to keep in mind whenever we're learning how to play on flute is that our air, we want it to be like a direct stream. Sometimes if our air is like this, like, then it's not really going to make a sound. It might sound like, because if you can see, the aperture of my mouth is much too big. But if I'm making my air direct, like a tiny little stream, then you can get out a good sound. Now that we've learned how to make the first sounds, we're going to take our head joint and put it back onto the body of the flute in the same way that we did it earlier, holding it by the barrel underneath the lip plate, as you can see, and then sliding it in, making sure that the hole here on the lip plate is in line with all of the keys down here. Let's learn about hand placement and posture while playing flute. First, take your left hand, give me a thumbs up. We're going to put that thumb on this long flat key here on the back. Then our first pointer finger is going to go on the second key here. This top key has a bar on it that shows us a finger does not go there. So our first finger, and then our second finger is going to skip this key because it also has a bar on it. Shows us that our finger does not go there. It's going to go on this flat key. Our third finger goes on the next flat key. And then our pinky will rest on this G-sharp key here, the one that is hanging out on the side. But we don't need to press it yet. It's just going to sit there. Okay? And also our first finger is going to be one of our balance points while playing flute. So if you can see, my flute is actually resting on this part of my finger here, right behind my knuckle. Just like that. That is the first hand. Now let's learn where our right hand goes. Take your right hand. Our left hand is the same as what we just did earlier. And our first finger is going to go on this key right here that has a flat top. Okay? It's right beneath these that our fingers do not go on because they're not flat. And then the next key, which is also flat. The next key, which is also flat. And then our pinky is going to press down this, if you can see, right there. Okay? And that is how our fingers go. Thumb, thumb, 1, 2, 3, pinky, 1, 2, 3, pinky. Just like that. You might be asking, how do we sit with the flute? Good question. So we got our handy dandy chair here. And instead of sitting straight, just straight ahead, I'm actually going to sit on the corner of my chair in a 45-degree angle. Okay? Got our fingers on our flute. And then we're going to face forward. And our flute goes here. And we do this so that we can take nice big breaths while we're playing flute. We want our flute to be flat and parallel with the ground. We don't want it like this, we don't like this. And our arms, we want them to be free. No resting on the chair. Like I said, completely free. This is going to give us a good amount of space and a good amount of space to breathe. And so that we are also looking straight at the conductor while also having our good posture. Now let's learn 3 notes on the flute. First, we're going to learn the note B. So, keep our thumb on this back key, pressed down. We're going to take our first finger, put it on the first key just like earlier, and then no other fingers are down except for your pinky on that key right there. Now, if I do that, this is what it sounds like. And that's a B. Now let's learn our second note. We have our B, back, first finger, pinky, and then we're going to add the second finger on this key right here, the flat one. And that is going to be A. Let's add one more note. So we've got B, which is first finger, thumb, pinky. We have A, which is just adding the second finger, and then G is adding the third finger. And now you know B, A, and G. Now that we know the notes B, A, and G, we can play hot cross buns, like so. Watch my fingers, and also between notes, think of 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, just how we learned how to tongue earlier. We want to think of our aperture being as small as possible to get the clearest tone as we can. Now that we've learned some notes, let's learn how to clean our flute. So, just as I mentioned earlier, we have a swab here, and we also have our swab cleaning stick. In this case, we're going to take the swab, put it through the eye of the cleaning stick here. It's almost like a sewing needle in a way. And then I'm just going to wrap this all the way around the stick. Here's what mine looks like after it's been wrapped. Keep in mind that we should cover up the top of the stick here so that it's not going to scratch the inside of our flute. And we're going to go as low as we can, just like so. The first part of our flute that we want to clean is going to be the foot of the flute. So we're going to take it off the same way that we put it on, by grabbing underneath the keys here and grabbing the barrel very gently, making sure not to squeeze any keys. And we're just going to twist and pull. There you go. Set the rest of your flute down in a safe space. While we take our swab here and just swab it through. Just like that. Next, let's swab the body of the flute. So we're going to take it apart just in the same way that we put it together. So if you see here, we're going to hold it by the barrel and then underneath the lip plate. Twist and pull. Just like so. Let's set our head joint away in a safe place. And then we're going to take our swab, stick it through this side of the body. And we're not going to put it all the way through because it's not going to reach quite all the way. Go halfway, and then we're going to flip it around and go in the other side and clean out all of our spit. Last but not least, we are going to clean the head joint, which we have already taken off. So let's take our cleaning swab and very gently insert it into the head joint, just until it very clearly stops going. And then that's pretty much it. You don't want to force your way in. Just if something's caught, then maybe rewrap your swab. That might mean that something is too big. If it's feeling like you need to push something, then just stop and try again, because we don't want to hurt anything with our flute. And that goes for all of the parts. Now that our flute is clean, we can just unwrap this, set our swab to the side, and put the swab stick back in the case the way we found it. Again, always make sure that we're keeping the case on the floor whenever we are putting together and taking apart our flute. Just keep it on the floor so that we cannot drop it and it can't fall anywhere. But this is what it will look like whenever your flute is put away. Make sure to close our case. Make sure to close it all the way so that it's not going to go anywhere. They're all nice and snug in the case. Now you might have noticed that I did not put my swab back in the case. And that is for a couple reasons. Number one, it's not really going to fit back in the case. It's too big for that. And number two, we do not want to keep our spitty swab in the flute that we just cleaned, because that wouldn't make any sense. It's just going to make it more moisture and it's not going to be good. It can lead to mold. It can lead to your pads being bad, many other issues. So with our swab, you can either tie it to the handle, you can keep it in your backpack, keep it somewhere safe and somewhere where you won't lose it, but don't keep it in the case. Let's just take a recap to remember what we've learned today. Number one, we've learned how to put our flute together. Number two, we learned how to make our first sounds. We learned how to tongue, and then we learned our first three notes, B, A, and G. We learned how to play hot cross buns, and then we also learned how to deassemble our flute and how to put it away. overall, great job, and let me know if you have any questions.